Hi, Rukmani.
Hi, how are you? I'm just trying to figure out a good place for light.
Listen, wherever you sit, it's any which way going to look good. So there's no trouble and problem with you. I was adjusting my light. In fact, on the other hand, twice, thrice saying today Rukmani is coming, so I need to look presentable.
Great.
But
So, how are
let
you?
I'm doing good. But let me formally welcome you before we start. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So let me welcome somebody who's like an inspiration for anybody who does dance. She doesn't need introduction because she's an inspiration. Uh, from being a proponent of a new form of Bharatnatyam, which she's made Bharatnatyam cool. So for all of you who do not know her, Bharatnatyam is only cool because of this one lady who I'm talking to right now. She's acted in films, of course. All you wonderful people from Tamil Nadu would obviously know this. From down south will obviously know of her. And she's also acted in Shamita as herself. Uh, she's an inspiration to millions of people, and it gives me great honor and pleasure and privilege to be able to welcome Rukmani Vijay Kumar to I'm Unofficial's Kuch To Corona. Yay!
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Rukmani, nobody's clapping because Modi ji told us to clap on 22nd of March. Everybody clapped then. And that day you were not on the show. If you were on the show on that day, then everybody would have clapped for you.
Then everybody would have clapped for me, right?
Now look at the comments. Everyone's clapping for you. Everyone's saying love struck, love struck. Queen of Bharatnatyam, say people. Let me ask the Queen of Bharatnatyam the first question.
Sure.
What's the biggest positive to the pandemic according to you?
I think cleaner air, and I think Earth is rejuvenating. And for those of us who are running manic, it makes us question, what we were doing. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Did it make you question what you're doing? Because you used to spend, I know your intensives go on, like they start early in the morning and they end late into the late evening they end.
Right.
So is it a different phase for you? Because you live like a 24/7 life. So is it any different for you in the pandemic?
It is different in the sense that I'm getting a lot more time to spend with my dance, because when I'm traveling, a lot of time is wasted, in cars, on flights, and then I don't know, like pre-performance, post-performance, all these other things. But now I can just concentrate on dancing, so I can get up still at 4 o'clock or whatever time I want to, and I can spend the day.
I'm sorry, you said get up at whatever time I want to, and then you said so get up at 4 o'clock. You get up
Yeah.
every day at 4 o'clock, is it?
Maybe 4, 5, sometimes 6. Yeah.
Listen, now she's making me feel so bad about existing. Rukmini, tell me what's a typical day in your life like, if you don't mind me
During
asking.
the pandemic, so I'll tell you what I did today. I woke up a little later. I woke up at 5, and I had some reading.
You woke up at 5? Oh my goodness. Yeah. This is very bad, Rukmini. How could you? People are disappointed. The nation is disappointed, Rukmini. You got up at 5 a.m.
And then I did an hour of reading, and I'm working on something, so I wanted to finish reading that. And also, it's too dark to run outside at 5. So then I went for a run at 6. I finished my 10K. I came home. I ate something, and then I'm working on writing something, so I did some writing. And then I practiced my dance from 10. I don't know, from for 2 hours, maybe like 9 to 11 or something. And then my little niece is dancing with me because she's in the family. I can teach her, so
How cute.
I taught her. And then I had a class which I'm attending, like a rhythm class. I attended that online, and I mean, pretty much I just do dance associated stuff. It's boring to hear. Yeah.
It's not at all boring to you. I was feeling. So you started with, so I got up at 5 a.m. and then at 5 a.m., it was too dark to go outside, Rishabh. So what I did is, I went for a run at 6 a.m. Then then very casually, I did my 10K and then I came back and I'm like, 10K, correct. Ladies and gentlemen, there was 10 kilometers. 10 kilometers of running in the morning. This is the kind of routine that people like me should follow. We go to sleep. All of us go to sleep by 4 o'clock. She gets up at 4 o'clock.
I think it's supposed to be really good to get up early. So now I'm like, I can follow the schedule without any interruptions.
Goodness, my goodness. No wonder everyone who dances says that please make sure that you don't ever make a mistake in front of Rukmini Vijayakumar, because she's so particular about everything. Every small little thing she's particular about. And now I know where you get that pinpoint precision from. Because it's like, so today I didn't get up at 4 o'clock, I got up at 5 o'clock. And I was like, oh my goodness. I wish I had that routine even in school. I think I would have aced school and done really well in my academics. But let me take you to the next part. It's called Tum Bhi Karo Na. Okay. So
okay. My Hindi is very bad. So I understand that much though.
तो मैं आपके साथ हिंदी में ही बात करूंगा, मैं आपके साथ अंग्रेजी में नहीं बात करूंगा.
Okay, I'll reply in English. I can understand, but I'll reply in English.
I'm just joking. But Rukmini, tell me, sitting at home, what can young people do? Yeah, because it's as much of Netflix, and for all of us, like, he's reading a couple of books here and there. But like, we're obviously thoroughly inspired by what you do, but it's almost impossible to be able to do what you do. So what is it that normal people like, say, me, can do sitting at home, and younger, like between the age bracket of, say, 13 to 24? What is it that they can do?
First, I think that you should ask yourself what you like to do, devoid of the influence of your friends. Like, do you like, I don't know, what do you enjoy doing? Like, do you like painting, or it could be like math. Maybe you like math, or maybe you like bicycling, or maybe you like something as simple as jumping. It could be anything, you know. So
now you're getting my wavelength. Jumping was the right one.
Yeah, but even if you like jumping, that's great, right? That means you like physical activity. And so there could be so many things that you could do, even like in a small space. I know my nephew likes jumping, so sometimes I set up obstacles for him, or he'll jump onto the bed like hundreds of times. So it's so I think you can get good at anything that you, I don't know, like, maybe, and this is a good time to take that opportunity, because I think that although now the digital media is offering us so many things, like, I mean, I'm learning a lot, you know, by watching people, by watching other dancers. There's so many shows that have gone online. So many artists are putting up their work online because they're not able to be in theaters, you know. So you get to watch a lot of shows that you couldn't have watched unless you were there in like Europe at a certain point in time. So it's I think that it's a great, while the digital media offers you that, it's also important to just switch off from it, because it can suck you in, and sometimes it, I don't know. You should take the learning. I mean, you should take the learning from it. Definitely, I'm not saying it's all bad, but at the same time, it's important to know what you're getting from it, and then kind of close up and do what you want to do. Yeah.
So limit the time that you're watching Netflix, guys. It's a very polite way of telling you, saying don't waste your time watching Netflix. Don't waste your time watching social media channels, but definitely waste your time coming every day at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. on Kuch To Karo Na. Correct, Rukmini?
That you have to do. I mean, I watch Netflix, but I watch at the end of the day when my mind is done and I'm not functioning anymore. Like usually at 8 o'clock or 7:30, I watch some TV.
So what's the thing that you, if I may ask, what is the thing that you're binge watching right now? What is it that you're binge watching? Are you binge watching? You must not be binge watching. What are you watching?
I watched this movie called On Baseball. It was I don't know. It was really nice. It was about a guy who was going blind, and he was a scout for baseball, and how his daughter comes and helps him, and how she, I don't know. It's a nice movie. It's inspirational. Yeah.
It's inspirational, and that's what you stand for, inspiration. So let me ask you this. I've been dying to ask people, and as IIMON, as a platform that you've been a part of, you know, you've performed at an IIMON concourse, and I'm eternally grateful for that. But we try to unite nations by spreading the idea of India.
Right.
I promised when Rukmani came to IIMON, she didn't know that it was me who was supposed to be in charge of IIMON. But now that she knows it, she's never going to come back again. So whilst I have we try to unite nations the Indian way. For this, we try to, in our conferences, in our ceremonies, in the evenings, try to get people sensitized to Indian art forms. And Bharatnatyam is as much as Indian legacy as anything else, such as yoga, etc., etc. How crucial is Indian classical dance as something that is Indian and which can spread the idea of India?
A lot of people think that it's old, it's ancient, we can't relate to it. It's you know, like old people watch it. Why should we watch it? You know, we're youngsters, we like hip hop. So I think that at that point, I'd like to say that with arts and culture in India, we're so rich. Like every state has their own folk dance, their own musical language. We all have our own languages. Every state speaks a completely different language. We're like Europe, like combined into one, not just in terms of language, but also numbers. Like in number of people, we're billions. But what I'm saying is that as a result of that, we have such a variety of culture in India, right? Now, some of our older movement traditions like Bharatnatyam or Odissi or Kathakali or Kathak, any of these classical forms, they come like, you know, like there's this gestural vocabulary that we have, right? Like now, like teenagers go like, I don't know, or like, like I've seen that a lot, you know, and they all go like here and then they take pictures. I tried it the other day. It's so not me. Like this. So what I'm saying is that we have a gestural vocabulary that kind of associates with our culture and a time and all of that. So the obviously dance is movement, and movement comes from gesture when we are trying to communicate, right? So if we want to say we're tired, we might make a dance movement from our shoulders shrugging, right?
Correct.
So
correct.
We draw our movement vocabulary from the existent culture around us. Suppose I was to create a dance from our current movement vocabulary, which is like, I don't know what, they have a dab and this and then this, you know. So if I was like saying I won, or like I went dab and then moved, or I did something else, right? So that would be more a movement vocabulary that came from the existent gestural vocabulary of today. Yeah? I could create a dance form from the current vocabulary that's today, which is kind of what we call as contemporary dance, or like these kind of things that are there. So the older dance forms come from a gestural vocabulary that existed in culture at that time, right? So obviously it's not literal, but it's drawn from the culture that's there at that time, right? So I think all of these represent an Indian culture that was a physical gestural vocabulary that was in India for a long time. And you do have, you know, like even in movies, there's a certain, like Bollywood movies, even if you saw things that were like maybe made 20 years ago or something, a lot of the movement vocabulary is drawn from these dance forms. The way the actors stand, or the, you know, what's expected of thing, the bahu is like this. It's all from, you know, like, from these forms that were there. So I think that, but in terms of content, it's changing also. And the content is relevant even today. I think I posted something on my page about a girl who is jealous with someone else. Obviously, I use a vocabulary that's like, she's like looking and it's like, see. But that's very bad. It's like, see, look what she's doing, and see, oh my God, she's walking. oh, she's throwing her hair back, or the way she steps. Oh. But we do that even now, right? Like all the girls will be together and they'll look at another girl and then they'll say, "Oh my God, look." So the content is pretty much the same. So I don't know why it's not ancient. It's just that you need to develop an aesthetic for it. Just like you need to like lemongrass or something, you know, in your food.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I've yet not developed quite a taste for lemongrass. So you said that Bharatnatyam and Indian dance are also proponents of soft power. Like we can utilize it as an instrument of soft power and speak about when one speaks about India soft power, I think classical dance and especially Bharatnatyam are an integral part of it. This is what I've always felt. And whether we do something in Montevideo, in Uruguay, or whether we do something in Poland, we try to get the component of Bharatnatyam involved. It's just difficult to get you to travel from Bangalore to Montevideo. But one day we will try to embark on that journey to get you to travel from Bangalore to Uruguay in South America.
Oh yeah. I was supposed to go to South America this year, but I guess it's not happening.
Look, I think in 2020 a lot of things that we planned are not happening. But
Almost nothing that's been planned is happening.
But I think all these unplanned things are actually making us understand that, you know, we need to start appreciating the little things in life. And I think for somebody like me who only appreciated himself, I think this is a great opportunity, because one gets tired of looking at oneself beyond the 15 minutes that you look into the mirror and say, you're amazing, and nobody says anything in return. And then after that, you need to do something, right? So I think it's given a lot of time for people like me in order to introspect. But Rukmini, I do strongly believe that you must be believing in the concepts of meditation and yoga as much as you believe in dance.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Once more, because I know at your academy which you started a wonderful academy in Bangalore. And can you throw some light on what you do out there and how you inculcate the habits of meditation and yoga in young people?
I don't teach meditation. I'm not a meditation teacher or anything. Neither am I a professed to be a yoga teacher. But I do use the aspects of yoga that are relevant in the practice of dance. One is the physical aspect, definitely, because I do use especially alignment and structure that I learned from the Iyengar principles in my dance, right? But I think that I don't want to say overrated, but I think that yoga or meditation is not something mystical. You can be yogic in your practice of music or dance, or yoga just means restrictions of the fluctuations of your mind. So if you are concentrating on a book you're reading without being disturbed by other thoughts, or if you're even concentrating and listening intently to a piece of music, or just walking on the street and thinking about walking like on the street, or looking at the flowers around you or the trees, or being in the present, that itself is yogic. It doesn't need to be something exceptional, or sometimes it's just about being in the present. Yeah.
I think the most important thing is to be in the present, but that's the most difficult thing, because we're either fixated on the past or we are anxious about the future. And therefore, but how do you keep your dancers focused on the present? I want you to, if you don't mind, I want you to really speak about the wonderful academy of yours in Bangalore, because I think you are doing some great work. But how do you run it, A, and B, how do you keep people in the present?
I think that whenever I make them sweat a lot or sit in a squat for like more than 40, like 1.5 minutes, their mind can't go anywhere else other than that squat. So when you make it really, really difficult, you're definitely making sure that they're staying in the present. Or when you make it challenging, like you give something that's rhythmically complex, right? It's impossible to be thinking about something else while you're doing something rhythmically complex. So make it hard enough, everybody will stay in the present.
Make it hard enough. Just make it hard enough for people not to do anything else but focus on the present. People in IIMUN, please remember, it was Rukmani Vijay Kumar who taught me that make it so hard for people so that they can only focus on the present and they can't think about anything else. So when I give you a lot of work tomorrow, you have one person to thank. And that's Rukmani Vijay. But Rukmani, let me take you to the last part of what we do. It's a fun rapid fire.
It's a what?
It's a fun rapid fire.
Okay, sure. All right.
And this fun rapid fire is basically, I'll give you a word, and whatever is your first thoughts that comes to mind, you need to basically tell me what it is. All right.
Okay, fine. Some psychologist is you're going to use this to assess me.
How do you not know that we've tied up with a psychologist who's paid us a lot of money and told us saying that if you get Rukmani Vijay Kumar to do this, we will transfer 1 million Zimbabwean dollars into your bank.
All the speakers will come one by one.
No, but you are difficult to get a hold of, no? So that's the reason why they paid us 1 million Zimbabwean dollars. I can give you 50% of the money.
Okay.
But only 50%. Okay, so your first question, Rukmini, is when I say coronavirus, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
A green blob.
Sorry, a green blob.
Yeah.
When I say dance, what comes to mind? Food.
I don't know. For some reason, just some corn popped up in my mind. That was really random. Yeah.
Work-life balance.
Work-life
Balance.
What? I'm very visual, so I thought of scales. You know, like the Libran, I think, right?
Correct.
Brass scales that keep going like this.
Listen, in all your answers up until now, there's a lot of philosophy involved, minus the food one. But I'll leave that to the psychologist in order to figure out.
I thought of cooked corn. Okay.
But the next one. When somebody says the Dark Lord, what comes to mind?
Krishna.
When someone says cinema, suppose I said cinema to you.
I think of a reel.
When somebody says inspiration, who's your inspiration?
I don't know. I think of light. I think of like bright light that's flowing out from the sky or something.
How nice. Now the psychologist is going to give 110 on 100. And if he doesn't pay me any money, Rukmani, this is all your fault. Your favorite sitcom?
Friends.
Favorite song?
I guess Somewhere Over the Rainbow. That's the first thing that came to mind. Yeah.
Because you said Friends, your favorite character from Friends, is it Rachel, Phoebe, or Joey? Let me get.
I can't choose. It's a combination of them.
It's a combination of Rachel, Phoebe, Monica, and Joey. No, it's a combination of all the characters.
It's a combination of all the characters. Rachel, Phoebe, Monica, and there's Chandler as well. How can you forget him?
I'm sorry, I lost you there.
And there's also Chandler.
And there is also Chandler, of course. He's the one that I draw inspiration from. Because whenever he's awkward, he makes jokes. So that's the reason why I'm making all these lame jokes all the time. but the second last one that I want to ask you is, when somebody says India, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
I don't know. I think of the map.
And when somebody says IIMUN, when people say IIMUN, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
You.
Yay! There are tons, there are hundreds of young boys and girls who've been actually working really hard. And for them, I must with your permission, take 2 questions from the audience because there are so many of them who've been watching and they've been bearing me so that they can ask you a question. Would it be all right if I ask you?
Yeah, sure.
Super. So the first question is Dhawan Abhishek. He says, how important is dance for mental peace and happiness?
I think that dance can definitely play a role in keeping us together. Although ultimately it's your mind that keeps you together, but I will not discount the role that dance plays, because I think we're movers inherently. We jump automatically when we're happy. We slouch when we're sad. So physical movement is inherently part of us. But as we grow up, we restrict that more and more. And it many times results in our bodies not being in touch with expression, you know. So we're taught to sit straight, don't move around, don't jump, don't think, don't lie down. So kids are lying down on the floor, and I think that it's important to allow your body to move when it wants to move. So yeah, try it. Play some random song that you like and jump around in your room for 5 minutes by yourself. That's going to feel better.
Listen, anyway, my parents anyways think I have lost the plot. Because last time they caught me talking to myself in the mirror. Now imagine if I play a song and start dancing just randomly and start jumping, then they're definitely going to throw me out of the house and Rukmini are going to be blamed. But
but you'll be happy.
But no, but the last question I must ask you: should dance be incorporated in curriculum and in classical dance and dance as a whole be incorporated in curriculum, school and college?
I don't think classical dance should necessarily be incorporated because that's very specific to a particular learning type. You know, people should want to do classical dance. So you can't force someone to say, go do Bharatanatyam, it's your culture. But I think that dance itself should be incorporated in curriculum. And so people can move, people can learn about their bodies, people can learn to be expressive through their bodies. I think that's important, you know, for us to be effective communicators when we grow older. But definitely, I think that classical music, dance should be showed in Indian schools so that the younger generation develops empathy. Just like we try different foods and we learn to develop a taste for bamboo shoots or lemongrass or, I don't know, pizza or...
I think you love lemongrass. Is it lemongrass your favorite?
It's just that when I was young, I used to hate bamboo shoots. And it took me a long time to actually like Thai curry. And I love Thai curry now, you know. So I just use that as an example. So I think that it's important to, I don't know, you'll be surprised. You might enjoy Bharatanatyam. Yeah.
No. And I can safely say, whenever we see you perform Bharatanatyam, I think young and old both are definitely mesmerized by your performances. Both are flawed equally, and therefore it is really, really very kind of you to be able to spend time with us, guys. We are useless. We get up at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. This lady out here, Rukmani, gets up at 4 o'clock. So I'm not going to trouble her anymore. Rukmani Vijay Kumar, it was a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege to be able to spend some time with you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I was really happy to be here with you all this evening.
And I'll end with this one line. It's rightly said that if you read 100 books, it's equivalent to having a conversation with a knowledgeable person. So this is the reason why I'm doing this talk show. So anytime somebody asks me, saying, how many books did you read, Rishabh? Well, this is my 65th chat. And this is with somebody so erudite. And therefore, I don't need to read the 100 books. No, but guys, you must read books and you must do the stuff that Rukmani is saying and not what I'm saying. Rukmani Vijay Kumar, an absolute pleasure. I hope on the other side of COVID, we get a chance to see you.
Yes, thank you, Rishabh. Bye. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye. Bye.